Hello, I'm Christiana and I'm a physio and Pilates instructor, and today I will show you 2 exercises which are safe to do if you have got a diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia. We will do them in 4-point kneeling. I will show you modifications and progressions, and you will learn to load and strengthen your upper body. So we will be starting in 4-point kneeling. So you make sure that your knees are underneath the hip joint, your hands are slightly more forward, not directly underneath your shoulder joint, and then you will try to find your neutral position. So you tilt your pelvis backwards and forwards to find your mid position, making sure your upper body is nice and straight, and you tuck the chin in slightly so that you have a juicy peach in between the chin and the chest, and you don't want that you squeeze out more juice. Okay, and then we start with the arm movement. You're lifting your arm off the mat and then come back, and then the other side. So when you're transferring the weight, you want to keep your body nice and still. You want to keep your alignment. So with the breathing, you breathe in, you breathe out, floating your arm up, breathe in to come back down, breathing out, in to come back down. So you can continue with this, or if you have sore wrists, you can roll your mat and then put your hands slightly more forward so that you don't have as much pressure through your wrist when you are doing the exercise. So again, you can then breathe out to float the arm up and then breathe in to come back down. And you notice that I was going slightly more backwards because you tend to come more forward while you're doing these exercises. You want to keep the hips above the knees. So this is a modification if you have got sore wrists, or if you have still sore wrists. Obviously in this position you are not loading your wrists, you're just loading your shoulder girdle. Then you can try and do it in this position if the wrists are too sore. But with time your wrists will get stronger, and you will find that they are getting less sore. Okay, so then we are doing the legs. So we can just sit back, just rotate your wrists for a moment, having a break, and then you come back forward again. And then we start again, same starting position as before, hands slightly more forward, knees underneath your hip joint, neutral spine, and then you breathe in, you breathe out, you slide your leg on the mat, then lift the leg up so that the ankle, knee and hip are in the same line, then bring it back down and slide it back in again. Then you transfer the weight and you try to keep the wobble reduced. You slide the leg, you lift the leg, and then come back in. So breathing in, you breathe out, sliding the leg, lifting it up, and imagine you are bringing the foot to the other side of the room so that you can keep your knees underneath the hips. So you will find that you are coming more forward again after a while over your hands or over your wrists. You try then push yourself slightly more backwards. Okay, so we do that. Good. And the modification again, you can roll your mat if you have sore wrists like before, and then you can do the exercise as well in this position. Or you can can do it on your forearms. So you could put your hands together if that helps. You can fold your hands, or you can put the palms together. Then when you are on your forearms, you make sure that your elbows are underneath the shoulder joint. Then you breathe out to straighten that leg, breathe in to come back. Concentrate on the transfer, so then you're lifting the other leg and you're not wobbling so much. Okay. Well done, and then you have a rest. And you can rotate your wrists again, or you can stretch out, so you keep the elbow straight, and then bend the hand towards you. Same on the other side. Perfect. Okay, and then you put everything together. So you can slide. So you're again, the starting position is the same as before. Your knees are underneath the hip joint, hands slightly more forward, and then you slide your left arm, right leg, so opposite arm and leg, and then lift it up, and then come back down, and then you transfer the weight. Come back down, and then you do it with the breathing. So you breathe in to get air into your lungs, breathe out, slide your arm and leg, lifting it up, breathe in to come back down, and then breathing out. And as before, you can roll your mat and then put your hands onto the rolled mat to decrease the pressure on your wrists, or you can go onto your forearms. Just demonstrate in a moment when you're going onto your forearms. Onto your forearms, and you make sure that you maintain your neutral spine, that your knees are underneath the hip joint, and then you slide your arms and legs. Straighten it. Good, and then you can sit back and come back up. Have a rest. Well done, everybody. And then we are moving on to the prep pulling prone level 1. So for this one, you are again in 4-point kneeling, but this time you flex your toes so that you can load your toes. Then you make sure again that your knees are underneath the hip joint, that you have got your neutral spine, so you can tilt again pelvis backwards and forwards, finding your mid position. And then you make sure that your hands are slightly more forward, not directly underneath your shoulder joint. So for this one, you're hovering your knees off the floor, and then you lower down with control. So you're again loading your wrists, arms and shoulder girdle. You're using your core. So you breathe in to prepare, you breathe out, hovering your knees off the floor, breathe in to hold, out to lower down. So breathing in, breathe out to hover, so really make sure that you are just hovering the knees slightly off the floor, as if somebody pulls the paper underneath your knees. So and you make sure that you're aiming more going up to the ceiling rather than coming over your wrists, okay? So you don't want to bring more weight over your wrists. And again, you can roll your mat to decrease the pressure on the wrists. So. Or you could go onto your forearms. So you can put your hands together, and when you're on your forearms, your elbows are directly underneath your shoulder joint, neck and head is in alignment. You tuck your chin in slightly, so you breathe in, breathe out, hover. So you hover with your breath out, breathe in to stay, and then out, come back down. Excellent. So this was our prep pull-in prone level 1. So I would start with this one first before you progress to prep pull-in prone level 2, because it's like the plank. So it's much more loading on your wrists and shoulder girdle and arms than the previous exercise. And you have to have good core control to progress into the next exercise we're doing now. Okay, so if you're watching this video and you don't feel safe to progress to the next level, you just have to do the first level a couple of times. So say 6 to 8 times, 3 times a week. And then if you feel you're getting stronger in your upper body, you can progress to the next level. So for the next level, you bring your hands slightly more forward than before, and then you hook your toes under. Again, you keep your knees underneath the hip joint, you keep your neutral spine, and then you hover your knees first, and then push forward, straightening your knees and hips, making sure that you're not hunching your shoulders up, and then you come back, bending your knees, lowering down your heels, and then with the breathing, you breathe in, you breathe out, you hover, you push forward, breathe in to stay, and then breathe out, bending your knees in, lowering down your knees to the ground. So we do 2 more, breathing in, breathe out, hover, pushing forward, keeping your shoulders down, spreading the weight through your hands, bending your knees in, lowering down, and then breathing in, breathe out, hover, push forward, breathe in, and then breathe out to come back in. And then you could either sit back and then bring your knees a little bit further apart. If you haven't got the flexibility in your hips and knees, you just can come back onto your back. And then bring your knees one at a time towards your chest to stretch out your lower back. Okay. And then when you have finished with this, then you can roll over your side, coming up into sitting. Well done, everybody. So you did 2 4-point kneeling exercises to strengthen your wrists, arms and shoulder girdle, working your core and strengthening your gluteal muscles.